In business today, you succeed because you're able to deliver high-value services to your clients, partners, and employees. You need to create a competitive advantage by being more agile, accelerating innovation, and maximizing the return on investment. To help you create that competitive advantage and fundamentally transform the way you do business, HP's innovative solutions give you the technology, know-how, and best practices you can trust to immediately start your transformation.
Yes, so Deloitte has worked with us for a certain period of time to transform their data center and implementing from an existing situation which was far from ideal into a more modern and converged infrastructure data center. Generally speaking, the converged infrastructure first business driver is obviously cost. And that is achievable with a consolidation of this type. However, for Deloitte, it was slightly different. They took a more modern and advanced approach, which is very correct and foresightful from a business perspective. So their approach was all about service and the service levels that IT was providing to the business. And of course, in consolidating and redesigning a data center, the service levels can improve greatly. And this brings with it characteristics like flexibility, so being faster to respond to the business, and also I'd say a very human and people-related aspect of taking people from working on maintenance, where typically about 70 to 80% of the spend of IT is, and moving those people to work on innovation, so to be closer to the business. So I'd say these are, the main drivers for a data center consolidation or a converged infrastructure data center. The reason for IT not being fast in response to the business is because during the years there's islands of IT and different technologies that have come to being in a data center. And these are extremely difficult to manage at a certain point just because of the complexity and the different environments. So I'd say this creates an enormous amount of issue of people working on little bits and pieces that's not efficient. And also from a technology perspective, in the last 5, even less years, you can imagine in 20 or 30, which is the legacy, technology has really advanced greatly from a technical perspective. And therefore, if one can change that and make it more modern, that brings an enormous amount of technical benefits that then translate to the business. And that, to be a little bit more technical, has to do with the converged infrastructure, which basically means that hardware, servers, storage, networking, virtual machines are all managed in a coherent way, and that makes an enormous difference for the people who are actually working with those systems. And I'd say the secondary benefit from a technical perspective then has to do with the applications. So when one transforms a data center and implements a converged infrastructure, there are immediate benefits from an application perspective because the standardization involved brings advantages to the way applications are developed and deployed and makes things much more simple fundamentally. And that means less resources and people get freed up to spend time on more interesting things for the business. So if your question relates to, let's say, the steps to get there, I think the first thing that Deloitte did very well, being a consulting company probably, they spent a good amount of time in understanding exactly what it was that they wanted to do. So I'd say the planning phase, not only from a technical perspective, but also from a business perspective and what they needed to match between these two levels to actually get the results. So that planning phase is extremely important. It has a very strong match between the technicalities and the advantages from a business perspective. And since HP has done a number of these projects, I think we do a fairly good job in helping them and working with them to implement this planning in such a way that it gets to the point which they want. So I'd say this first step of going through the actual vision that they wanted for their consolidation was definitely the first step. And that has a number of points to it, which I'd like to mention. I think they're important. One of them is definitely planning the cost. Of course, that's important to have a good vision of that over the years and in the ROI that one can achieve and when there's a break even from a cost perspective to understand the investments needed. The second is also, personally, I think the mix of people that one wants from the existing data center and the skills and what people should be working on. And the mix, if it's 70% working on maintenance today, how can we make that 50% or maybe even 60% for innovation tomorrow? And that needs to be planned for. It needs to be envisioned. There needs to be training planned for the people so that they can work with new technologies and so on. So I think that is definitely another step which is important. And then during that process, there's a lot of discussion on core and context. So focusing their resources on pieces that are core for them to delivering the service to the business and things that are context that can be managed differently with suppliers or taken away completely. Thanks for the question, because it really does help me focus on one of the key advantages of working with HP. So HP is a technology company, which means that we spend an enormous amount of resource across the globe to understand what the best technology is. And even if we implement locally, these advantages are available to our clients locally as well as globally. And I think that's a very important first point. I think the fact that they chose HP locally also means that HP locally has resources that are capable. They have methodology that is leveraged throughout the globe to get the best from all our clients. There is experience which is leveraged because these are still people-intensive projects for such a transformation. But I think also they have the ability to scale. So once a pilot is done in a country, and that is typically the best way to approach such a project, to learn from the results, then it is easy to scale that with the same method, the same learnings, the same connections between people across the globe to any other location that Deloitte has, in fact, because they have companies across the globe as HP does. So scale, the consistency in technology, the consistency in methodology are all very important. So one of the things that I really appreciated yesterday, during yesterday's interview, was the fact that HP is a trusted partner. And that is a very strong statement, in our opinion. It means that there's always going to be issues in transforming IT, but fundamentally, we will stick to our commitments and we will make things work. And of course, these projects also take time. There are changes in technology, adaptations, business changes, but HP is a partner, right? So it does not, it does what is needed to make things successful for a client, and that means trust, and it builds with time. As far as the forward-looking statements with Deloitte are concerned, I of course cannot answer for them. But definitely, there are a number of areas where we have a strong intention, generally speaking, with all our clients to help them from an IT perspective. And I can walk through these areas very quickly. And of course, with Deloitte, we will welcome working on all of them, as with all our other clients. The first one is information optimization, an enormous topic today, as the amounts of information available on the internet and in our normal lives has increased. Being able to manage that from a structured and unstructured perspective is very important. We have some great technology to do that, and we want to help our clients to implement it to get their business advantages. Second is security, because with a lot of information around, you want to manage that in a very secure way. And this was actually one of the key advantages also for Deloitte. We've done a lot of investment in this area. It crosses all our solutions, and we want to make sure that your data and your information, which is then personal, because it's mine and yours, is actually well managed. All right. Then I mentioned also before the transformation of applications. So the transforming of a data center is only a first step to consolidating applications and making sure they work properly for the business. And we have an absolute investment in this area from a service perspective and from a methodology perspective. Then we have definitely one of the hottest topics, which is cloud. We take an extremely pragmatical approach. I'd say what Deloitte has implemented is a private data center, a converged infrastructure, but the concept behind it is to deploy service to the business. So it is a private cloud, in fact, from a principal perspective. And this model will evolve into our other services, where we're offering clouds for our corporate customers, which are very private to them, but also public clouds in the future. And I think with that I've covered all the main solutions. And these are areas in which HP will consistently invest with innovation in all of them. And this is what we want to do with Deloitte and all our other customers, of course.
And lastly, is there any summation you want to make about, again, that either the interview or the project with Deloitte, and just sort of a summation?
Yes, I think very naturally speaking, it is fantastic to see a happy customer. That is, I'd say, our objective at the end of the day. And the reason we exist is to provide service to a customer, to help them do a better job, and we hope to do the same, of course.